Honeywell School was constructed more than 80 years ago in 1938. Since then, populations, building codes, and most importantly, the way education is delivered have changed dramatically. The building is long past its life expectancy and doesn't have the necessary spaces to provide a 21st century education. Over the last decade, multiple town committees have studied the needs of our elementary school facilities across town and determined that Honeywell School should be rebuilt on the same site as the original school.
This is pretty typical, the facade, the brick masonry, some of the, this is almost a 83-year-old building you're looking at here. So the brick mortar joints are in need of repair. The windows, those are translucent panels, they're called cow wall. These are old and dated and inefficient as well. These are throughout the building. And you can see above the windows these eyebrow roofing details. When we get inside in the gym here, you'll see that they tend to leak quite a bit. So here we are, still in the 1938 wing. We're in the gymnasium. The gym itself is very small by any measure. It's 2,000 square feet. The Sprague Gymnasium is 6,000 square feet, so it's three times the size of this gym. You can see the stained ceiling tiles. That's right over those eyebrow window penetrations. You can see the glazed face tile above the heating elements on the walls. The masonry is broken and loose. And the last item I'd like to point out in this room is this rubber flooring, which not only is it not very good for bouncing basketballs in athletic activities, but it's also very difficult to take the cafeteria tables and roll them in and roll them out every single day.
The small space impacts our health and fitness program just because it's hard to have a whole class of children in here actively participating in gym. This is the only meeting space that we have for the school, so when we're here for a performing arts event, we are really hard pressed to fit everybody in here, including the staff, the parents, the students, the band, the orchestra, and chorus. We just don't all fit. So here we are at the Honeywell Kitchen, and every day that we serve lunch, a lot of this equipment has to be moved out into the hallway so the students can get served lunch. As you saw in the gym, storage is just an overall problem at Honeywell. The kids come this way through the lunch, and then they have to clearly walk all the way down the hall and back into the cafegimatorium, as we lovingly call it. And that just prolongs the time it takes for kids to eat lunch, which again impacts how much time the gym has to be closed.
Okay, so we're here in a typical 1938 classroom, because I want to talk about the building limitations and the impact to the learning environment. Over here to my left, you can see what's called a unit ventilator, or a univent, and this is the primary source of heating and ventilation for the classroom. And what that unit does is it takes outside air, inside air, mixes it together, heats it up, and distributes it throughout the room. And then it's exhausted through an exhaust vent that's buried up inside that converted coat room over to my right, where it has now become a book storage area. Some of the other issues that affect the learning environment, we'll start with the windows. And those are old cow wall translucent panels. They're not efficient in terms of keeping air infiltration and the weather outside. Acoustics in general is really important, so having new windows that keep the outside noise down so that you can concentrate is important.
Students in special education sometimes need a quiet, distraction-free environment with the noise outside, the univents making noise, and then competing with the other students that could be in here working at the same time. It's anything but a distraction-free environment.
The lighting here, unlike the new LED lighting that we have in most of our buildings, this is the old fluorescent lighting. And just in general, when you look around this room, you'll see that there's not a lot of space. There's not a lot of storage space, which is an issue throughout the school. We actually had to repurpose the coat room so that we could find a place to store the books. I wanted to talk about some of the fire protection, fire devices here in the building. So first of all, the building does not have a sprinkler system. There's no fire protection. And this is a wood-framed roof system, so it's highly combustible. Behind me, you can see some of the old devices. We have the exit signs, the emergency exit signs that are not illuminated. We have some of these, what are called horns and strobes. These are devices that illuminate and make noise in the event of a fire or an alarm. While they are functional, they are outdated. And finally, at the very end of the hall is our fire alarm control panel. We actually had to replace that to a cost of about $6,000 this past summer. Behind me are the 18-year-old steam-fired cast iron boilers. These are segmental boilers. Typically you get about 20 years, but you can see based on the corrosion here that in the number of repairs we've had that we'd be lucky if we get that. You probably remember in 2019 we had to close a number of classrooms right above us due to this column here that has since been repaired, but at the time it was crumbling and in danger of collapse.
In May of that same year, a fire damaged 2 fourth-grade classrooms in the 1957 wing, closing the whole school for 5 days. The damaged classrooms were unusable for the remainder of the school year, and extensive cleaning took place during the summer.
We are in one of the 2 modular classrooms that we no longer use as a classroom. We've repurposed it to house our math and literacy specialist, as well as the 2 interventionists that support students. So again, an environment where we have 4 adults working. Students can be visiting this room, teachers come here to collaborate and work, and it's not an ideal space because you have 4 people competing for some distraction-free environment so that they can conduct a meeting, and it's just not possible.
In 2 years, when hopefully a new school will be built, these mods will be 30 years old, so they've lasted roughly 3 times what their typical life expectancy is.
The new Honeywell school will have 18 classrooms with additional spaces that could be reconfigured to serve as a 19th classroom in the case of a bubble year, with a design enrollment of 365 students. The design also includes purpose-built spaces for the district-wide Therapeutic Learning Center, or TLC, program. When the new Honeywell and Hardy schools are opened, we will finally have all Wellesley Elementary schools in appropriate educational spaces.